Hello, humans. It's your host, Corey, and this week on A Well Cared For Human, we have a very special episode with author Zac Diamanti. I brought him on the show because I recently read one of his books, Garden the Garden. As many of you know, when I released my cozy fantasy, A Magical Mending, last year, I was really looking for equivalents in the space, and his work came up on my feed. Oh, it's for those of you who have the video, it's blocking out his beautiful cover. There it is. I tried to take us to a fantasy world today with the background for those of you who are seeing this on YouTube. Most of you are on Spotify and Apple, but so you're missing the good bits. But this is a super cute cover, Garden the Garden. I loved it, and I was like, Zac, come on my show. And he was so gracious as to say yes. And so here we are. And so for those of you who don't know Zac and his work, he is an award-winning author of the Stone and Sky trilogy, an epic fantasy adventure, and the fables of Finalestia. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Finalestia, yeah.
Perfect. You know the reader problems where you're not sure if the word is how you say it in your head.
We dabble in fantasy, man. That's how we do it.
Which is a cozy fantasy series, which includes Garden the Garden, which is the one I just read and loved very much. And in 2025, Zac received the honor of being named Rocky Mountain Fiction Writer of the Year. He went to college forever, which you've heard me complain about that a lot, folks. So we've got another lifelong learner here with us today. And he has too many pieces of paper on his wall. I'm sitting next to a wall of paper. You can't see it. but that's also true. And so he is from the United States Air Force, correct? That was your background?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Veteran of Operation Enduring Freedom and worked in ministry for over 10 years. He and his wife live in Colorado with their 4 children, where they enjoy hikes and tabletop games. Now, before I even take you in, speaking of Colorado, I just saw this horrifying video of a woman encountering a cougar. Is that an issue for you where you live? Are cougars real?
We do have a neighborhood page that talks about, hey, there's a cougar in the neighborhood.
Oh, no.
We get bobcats as well.
Oh, my goodness.
Lots of coyotes.
Well, we have those.
Like
We have those in Michigan. But cougars feel like a whole nother level of survival that I'm not usually prepared for.
Bring your dogs inside. We have a mountain lion.
Oh, my gosh. Better you than me. I have too much anxiety for that. But before we get into your book, which I'm very excited to talk about, I wanted to give you the opportunity to just tell the listeners a little bit more about you and your writing, anything that you want them to know, maybe what you're working on now or what's top of mind, anything you want to share to kind of introduce yourself.
Sure, yeah. So my pen name is Zac Diamanti, but everybody just calls me Zac. I also answer to Z and Z, depending on where I'm at. But very, very approachable as Zac. That's totally fine. But I've been like you mentioned in the bio, I just got named Rocky Mountain Fiction Writer of the Year.
Congratulations!
Which was such a huge honor. Thank you very much. Which is so cool because this year we just published my 8th book, and I've got 2 more coming out this year. So we'll have my first 10 books out. So I'll finally be in the double-digit author club,
Congratulations!
which is pretty fun. But the cool part is that the book that we just released this week, it's called Honor. It's a sci-fi and fantasy anthology. That I pulled together. I invited 22 of my author friends and I said, guys, I want to do a really, really cool special edition anthology all about the theme of honor. And oh man, they showed up. And of course, they're all sci-fi and fantasy people. So it was like, okay, hard cutoff, 10,000 words for your story.
Yeah. I imagine the word count was an issue. Be like, guys, keep it.
Horrible. I'll say that 90% of them were terrible at the word count game.
Oh my
so
gosh.
we had to do a lot of editing and tweaking. But man, do we have just an awesome anthology with so many cool authors in it. And it's just such a really special project that I've gotten to that I got to put together, so and it just means a lot. And it's just coming out. Everybody's just hearing about it, and everybody's like, whoa, what is this thing? This is so cool. So it's a really fun time right now.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, I saw because I'm also a follower of your newsletter, and I saw the publication for it, and I was like, oh, that sounds fun. Because what's funner than being a writer with your friends? Writing can be a very solitary
Totally.
pursuit, and so when you get to do fun things with your friends, that's awesome. We had a similar situation. We had one called Badass and the Beast, and it was, as you can imagine, heroines with swords and their animal companions of various types. And that was great
Nice.
for us because, yeah, you get to play with other people essentially, which is
Totally.
amazing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's awesome. So I'm
Yeah.
excited to check it out. Awesome. And for the people who don't know why I even invited Zach onto the show, you're like, why is he here? I mean, I'm a writer and I invite my writer friends from time to time, but specifically, I just loved his story, Garden the Garden, about healing. You have a very open advocacy for veterans' rights, for PTSD, for mental health stuff. And so it's no surprise to anyone who's a follower of the show. We talk about mental health on the show. We care a lot about helping each other deal with what we're dealing with. And so I thought Zach would have a lot of meaningful contributions to that conversation. So thank you again for being here, Zach. We're glad to have you.
Yeah, I'm excited.
So, my first question for you is when I was researching your background, I saw that you mentioned when you were growing up that you and your brother shared a room and you told each other stories. And not just any
Yes.
kind of story, but choose your own adventure stories, which I love. I even tried to write two as an adult. I have two like actual choose your own adventure, which I don't
Yes.
recommend anyone try to write them. They're so hard from a publishing standpoint. It's such a
Such a
challenge.
puzzle. Your
It's
brain is like, wait.
it was. I was like, wait, were they alive in this thing? I don't know. But I did love them also as a kid. And so I tried to tackle them. So tell me more about that. What were your big influences growing up? Was it your brother? Were it certain genres that you were reading? What was the influence behind you becoming the writer you are today?
Yeah, so growing up, I actually didn't have glasses, and I needed them really bad.
Oh, no.
um, and as a kid, I just thought I couldn't read, right?
Mm.
And so I hated books. I hated any reading assignments I ever got. Teachers would give us a book and we'd have to read in class, but the only way I could read and get to the next line on the page was to lay my face down on the page so I could get my eyes to track
Oh,
to the
my
next line.
goodness. Okay.
And so I was always getting in trouble for laying down instead of reading, but I was like, I have to
You're
read.
like, I can't see. I can't
My
see, guys.
parents would get mad at me for not that reading, and so I just thought I was dumb and I couldn't read as a kid. So I really didn't like books. I always loved storytelling. My family would camp a lot as I was growing up, and our dad would tell us, stories around the campfire, and right before bed, when we would go down in the tents and stuff, and then of course my brother and I we shared a room for. Gosh, until I was 16, and so we told stories to each other, in our bunk beds at night, and stayed up way too late, and it was kind of like our own little version of D&D, and just going on epic quests together and having a blast doing it, and so that's really kind of where my love for storytelling started. And then I had a teacher at one point put The Hobbit in front of me. And he said, read it. Just read it. Go read it. Because he knew I hated reading.
Yeah.
And he's, go read it. Just do it. And I powered through that book and I loved it. And I
Yeah.
was like, this is the coolest thing
This is the
ever,
best
right?
thing ever.
Oh my gosh. Even though it took me forever because I was such a slow reader, and I'm still a slow reader now,
Oh, yeah. Same,
just
same,
because
same.
my brain, that's how my brain trained.
Yeah.
And it was hilarious because I wrote a story like I don't know, 2 days later or something called The Flobbit. Very original,
Yeah.
obviously. Had no
Hey,
influence
the highest
whatsoever.
praise is
Um,
imitation. And so you were clearly loving it. So you got,
exactly. So, I still remember the title of that story, but I don't know whatever happened to it. I'm sure it was trash
you're like,
anyway.
I don't
So,
know what happened, but I'm sure it was
I'm glad
great.
it never saw the light of day. That's fantastic. But it stirred something in me, right? It
Yeah.
started something, and then realizing that I liked fantasy, I picked up like Redwall, and I started reading some of those things. And because I love food, I loved Red Wall because they were always eating.
You're like,
And
this
they're
is
saying,
amazing.
this is awesome. I didn't know we could talk about feasts and books. This is great. Anyways,
No, that's
long
great.
story short, eventually I joined the military. They gave me glasses and they were like, dude, you need glasses.
Yeah,
That's going to help a lot. Sure enough, it did. And man, I was off to the races from there. I just started reading everything I could. But it was weird because I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta read all the books I've missed. And so like I started way back. Like I went back to Edgar Rice
yeah. Oh,
Burroughs
yeah,
and H.P. Lovecraft and
yeah.
all these guys like at the turn of the 19th
Yeah.
century, like ridiculous. But I just couldn't. I couldn't, or the 20th century. I couldn't get enough. And so when I started writing, it was funny that my wife had to kind of like retool me a little bit. She's like, these words, nobody's gonna know what these are. You gotta change some of your language there. So it was a really kind of funny, weird
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
conglomeration of things.
You were like, you must
That
have read the ancient writers, but you need to
you
talk
must
to the
have read
modern
these.
folk.
How have you not? You don't know these words.
That's funny. That's funny. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it reminds me of The Hatchet. Did you ever read The Hatchet? It was,
Yeah, of course.
did you go
Jerry
back and read The
Colson. Yeah,
Hatchet with the
yeah, of course. And my son loved it too. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's great.
Yeah, oh my gosh. Yeah. It's really interesting. Well, I'm glad that the military gave you glasses.
Yeah.
Good for them. But it felt like a
Yeah,
whole new world. You put them on and you were
it
like,
totally
wow, this is what everything looks like. Amazing.
blew my mind. Yeah, it blew my mind. I kept like taking them off, putting them back on. Like, oh, like
You're
just
like, wow, whoa, I didn't realize.
I must have looked like a weirdo for the next week and a half, just like constantly checking my surroundings.
Oh no, I bet people were just like, what's up with him? I guess he's getting a new lease on life or something. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh my goodness.
exactly.
Well, that's awesome. Well, I'm glad. Love that for you that you got glasses.
Yes.
And then specifically, I wanted to talk about Garden the Garden, of course, because I liked it so much. I was like, gotta get this guy on here. In your book, Garden the Garden, one of the things that I loved about it is that you definitely take on what it feels like to be a veteran, right? You've mentioned that you went to the military and that you saw conflict and that you came home. And so I'm assuming that I don't want to presume, but I'm assuming that you are drawing from your own experiences, right? Of what it's like to be home, post military career, refinding yourself. And the story that you tell about Felton, about him figuring out what that means, what it means to not just protect, but to serve and kind of reconnecting with this new mission in his life.
Yeah.
Would you like to talk a little bit about what that was like for you, like how much of what you experienced went into the story, or how did it frame your work? So for example, my lead character Saya, she was also from that, but I'm talking more from I had a very traumatic background, right? And so it's not military specific, right? It's a different kind of learning to be who you are. So I'd really love to hear your perspective of coming specifically as a veteran who has been in this. How did that inform what you were
Yeah.
writing about?
Yeah, when I remember getting out of the military, and it was time, but it was one of those things. They go through a process, out processing with you, and they try to warn you, and they try to tell you, they try to explain what you're losing and what you're giving up by getting out of the military, and the things that you're not going to have access to, the things that aren't just going to be built in for you anymore. After they've essentially taken you as a human, torn you down, and then reshaped you,
Mm-hmm.
and then sent you in to be a part of a team, right? A part of a unit, part of something that's much bigger than yourself. And in the military, we're all on the same mission. We all have the same purpose. There's a singular goal and mission in everything that you do. And so you get very close with the people who you work with. And so one of the things when I got out, I didn't realize, you just don't know until you get out. But all of a sudden you're not a part of the brotherhood anymore.
Yeah.
Everybody you hung out with on the weekends is, well, they're still doing their thing, but you're not on the same mission anymore. And they go away on mission and you're left behind. And you're like, oh, but oh, and like, and you're trying to
Yeah.
figure out like, well, they're still on mission, they're still on purpose, they still have all these other things going on, and they're all, uniquely focused on the same things. But now everybody I work with is kind of like doing this or doing that and doing this and that. And you're like, but guys, like if we work together, if we like are on the same page, then we can all be like, this could be so much better. And you're trying to figure it out. And you're like, I'm not part of the brotherhood. I'm not on mission anymore. I
Mm-hmm.
don't have, what is my mission and what is my purpose?
Yeah.
And it is such a tough transition because you're really trying to, you had somebody telling you what your purpose was for a
And now
long
you have to
time,
come
right?
up with it.
And now you have to figure it out by yourself, right? And not only do you have to figure it out by yourself because everybody else was reinforcing the same purpose and mission, but now you have to figure it by yourself, and nobody's going to tell you, yeah, that's your mission, bro, get on it. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
nobody's going to hold you accountable. And so you're trying to figure out, oh my gosh, I don't even know what to do anymore. All I ever knew how to do was protect and serve and do this thing that we do. And it was one of the toughest transitions one of the toughest things I've ever done. It took me about 10 years to really kind of figure out who I was and what my new purpose and mission was. And I worked in ministry for 10 years, which it has built-in purpose in it. And
You're like, it still wasn't enough.
and it still was kind of like okay, but like, okay, I need to figure out what am I doing? And it wasn't until I really started writing books and getting into it that I actually started figuring that out. And it's such a tough thing. And I wanted to tell people that story, but you know, you go through that transition, you're dealing with PTSD, you're dealing with depression, you're dealing with isolation and self-inflicted isolation, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're dealing with a lot of these really tough matters. But I didn't want to leave everybody depressed.
Yeah. You're like, I need to write.
That
Go.
just sucks.
You're like, let's make it cozy. Let's take.
Exactly. And so that's
Yes.
where the cozy fantasy came in.
Yeah,
And it
yeah.
was like, oh, okay. So wait, I can tell this story, but I can also bring joy and laughter and heart and hope to this story and what it's like to experience these things, even with other people around.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was the perfect medium for me to be able to tell this story.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's very aligned with what I had to go through for not the military part, but just the figuring out the cozy fantasy. Because most of the fiction I wrote, especially my earlier books, are very dark because my experiences were very dark. It's very dark. And then I was like, I didn't know I had a cozy in me. Like I didn't know that I could tell. I didn't know I could tell a story that didn't involve with like everyone murdered and like torture and disaster.
I got my start in short stories and horror.
Yeah, so I write horror too. Yeah. So it's like I didn't know I could tell a story that was heartfelt, that wasn't like everyone's, fighting for their life. It's like wow. And so yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about there. And then so I feel like you answered the question I was going to ask next, which is what drew you to the genre, which it sounds like it was the joy. You really wanted some of that lightness, that connection after this experience of probably feeling very isolated, very alone. You went essentially from like a team unit to now it's you figuring out who you are apart from all of that. And I think you, as someone who did read the book, I think you did a really good job of showing that journey for Felton. His slow process of figuring out like who he is outside of the military, because I'm scared to say this works and I'm going to say it wrong. Author problems or reader problems. Garvarks?
Garvox.
Garvox.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
As a little German then. Garvox. Okay. Garvox.
These flying black panthers.
Yeah.
Savage and awesome.
So for those of you who are like, what is going on? It's the animal that the dwarf Felton rides when he's in battle. But is that different from the warhogs, or is that another name for it?
Yeah, they're different. So the Garvox are these flying black panthers with bat-like wings, and they're so savage and so awesome, and they're great for aerial combat. And then, of course, before that, he was part of the
warhogs
cavalry.
Right.
And so the Garvok warriors choose from the warhog cavalry the best of the best
who get to go get on the flying bat panthers.
And that's where it comes. And that's where it comes to it. Like for Felton, he's like all the way in the deep end. He's the best of the best. He's the
Yeah.
best in the business when it comes to warriors, and now he's not. And now
Yeah.
he's not a part of that. And I think the reason why cozy fantasy works so well for this story, and why I knew I had to take it to the cozy side, is just because of the nature of the genre, right? Or the subgenre. Because you've got sword and sorcery, epic fantasy. I mean, I wrote that first. And the Stone and Sky series is so much fun, action packed, and all the great, the cool stuff, right?
Yeah.
But it's epic. It's world ending, big stakes. And so knowing that, having gone through this process of healing over, 10 years while I was figuring things out, I learned that a lot of the healing comes through the joy in the little things, the gratitude in the little things. The little things are the things that power us through, right? And it was just like a light bulb.
Yeah,
Ding.
for sure.
Cozy fantasy is about the little things. And I was like, this is the perfect way to tell this story. This is where we have to go.
No, absolutely. And again, I think you really showed a good depiction of Felton's struggle with it being little, right? Like he was in this big epic situation, and now it's like he's
Right.
trying to
Yes.
connect with the present moment and with gratitude and just being glad to be alive. And he's this, he with the help of his friends, he becomes a city guard, right? And so
Yeah.
is that enough? Like, is that even enough to be the? So I
Yeah.
think you did a
He's the
really
best
good
of the
job.
best,
Yeah,
right?
I think you did a good job of showing that transition between the two. And I loved that the aunt, just a side note, I love that she had a button collection because I too am like a button obsessed human. And I was like, yes, I feel seen. And
Yes. That's our treasure,
yeah,
right?
but here's my treasure. And the illustrations were so lovely. It took me a minute to realize that the turtle, um, I'm trying to find the turtle, that it's Templeton, right? Because I was like,
Yes.
who
Yeah.
is this guy? I was like, who is this
Yeah.
guy in here? Did you do those yourself? Because I saw a video on YouTube that where you drew the map of one of your
Right.
worlds.
Yeah.
And so did you
Yeah.
also do the illustrations for this book?
Yeah. So you'll see, like in the chapter headers, there's a whole bunch of plants and other things, and I
Yeah.
drew those.
Okay.
And I had this brilliant idea. I was like, oh my gosh, it's going to be a garden. I should draw a different plant for every chapter header. It's going to be so awesome. It's so fun. And then I wrote 34 chapters, and I was like, oh no.
And you're like, there are so many plants.
There are so many plants. I spent a long time drawing all those plants. But those illustrations of Templeton for the seasonal, because we break the book up into seasons, which was just a really great and fun mechanism that I got to use, a writing tool that I got to use to really help progress the story through the healing journey, right?
For sure.
And so all those illustrations of Templeton are actually done by an artist named Alexis Stajcik.
Okay.
He's awesome. He's so good. He did the cover for Wagons and Wyverns and all the fun character art in that book, and he did the cover for Assassin in the Ale House, and he really stepped up his game with all the art in Assassin in the Ale House. And of course, he did the cover for Mages of Mayhem, which is I haven't revealed yet, but
that's the one that you're working on now.
Job.
Yeah.
Yep. And I'm a little further into the book now, into the writing process, so I'll be sending him a list of art pieces for that one as well. Yeah, no, he's great, and I love working with him. So he and I work really well together.
Awesome. Yeah, creativity is definitely something that we've talked about on this show before. Have spoken a lot about how, for me, it was very healing, processing a lot of the experiences that I had. I would love to hear from you as well, because it sounds like you do art. You're not, I was going to say not just a writer. This is a writer's podcast, just so we're clear. We're not knocking the writing, but it seems like they're, like many writers that I know, were attracted to multiple forms of creativity. So I would love to hear more about what your journey with creativity has been, how healing that has been for you. Like, what has its role been in you finding your purpose, or how has it helped you with your mental health? Anything you want to share about your connection with your creativity would be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, creativity has always been a very, very important part of my life. I was a visual artist growing up. So drawing, painting, all those things, my favorite things to do. And for a number of years, I worked semi-professionally in music as well. And
Oh,
so
cool.
I've always been very, very invested in creativity. I remember it was actually after my time in Afghanistan that I came home, and I was having a hard time expressing myself and expressing my creativity in the visual medium. And so I really leaned on my guitar and music at that point as well. But I also started writing
Hmm.
in a different, just writing stories. And that's really actually when I started getting my rhythm with writing, and I started writing in horror short stories. Shocker.
You're like, I have some
And
terror to share.
I have some mess I need to get out of me. I need this darkness out. And being able to express yourself in those ways is so important. And for me, it's always been an important part. And it's funny how Guard in the Garden wasn't the first book I wrote, because I think I was afraid of it for a long time.
Oh,
I
for
was still
sure.
working through a bunch of things, and I didn't think I could tell the story. I didn't think I could do the story justice yet.
Hmm.
And it was after I wrote Stone and Sky and Stone and Tide and Stone and Ruin, that whole series, that I was realizing, okay, this story is coming up and I know I have to tell it and I know I'm going to have to tell it. And it was probably while I was writing Stone and Tide, the second, book in the Stone and Sky series, that I realized it fully, and I was starting to process through how I was going to go about it. And that's why there's all sorts of little nods in Stone and Ruin
Yeah.
about the future things to come in the Fables of Finlestia, because actually my Stone and Sky series is in the same world
Oh,
as
okay. Yeah.
the Fables of Finlestia, which is super fun. But yeah,
Nice.
creativity. Writing Guard in the Garden, though, for me, I think writing Stone and Ruin, it was the last book in the trilogy, and it was wrapping up a whole season of my life and wrapping up a whole um, this thing that really opened and unleashed this
Yeah.
creative aspect of myself. And I cried so much writing that book. And
Good.
it was
Yes, get
so
it
funny
out.
because I think it really, what writing that book did was it really uh, let me know that, okay, hang on, this process can really be impactful for me as well.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
and that's when I think it really opened up to the possibility of writing Guard in the Garden for real. And I mean, I cried so much writing Guard in the Garden, a lot, guys.
You're like you're like you
A
can't
lot.
understand how many tears.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. It was just so important for me to be able to tell that story, and being able to dial into all these emotions and feelings and things that I've been wading through by myself for so long, was just so cathartic. It's so healing for me. And of course, my wife reads it and she's like, "Oh my gosh!" Like, she's crying every day she's reading it. And she's like, "I know you've
So basically,
always read her."
you
Like, so good, yeah.
bonding experience with
Yeah,
with
yeah.
the, oh my
Exactly.
gosh. No, I really understand so many of the things that you've just said. One about the you had to work up to telling the truth. So I wrote many books, dark books, before I ever told the story about my mother's murder or the experiences that I
Sure.
had growing up. It was like 20 something, but like it took me a while to get there. And then I finally told the
Right.
story. And when I was telling it, it was really helping me to understand my experiences that I hadn't felt comfortable looking directly at, I guess,
Yeah,
before
sure.
then.
Yeah.
And so I, I have also made that argument several times before, which is that in the conversation of AI, and we could talk about that too if you want to, but there's a lot of fear
Okay.
about AI tearing up.
Okay.
And I'm like, don't worry about that, because if you've ever written a book in
Yeah.
which you yourself had been transformed by telling the story, then you
Totally.
understand completely that AI is never going to replace that, right? That's an
No,
experience that
never.
you have with yourself for yourself that is never going to be handed off to a
And listen,
machine.
it's a human experience too, and you gotta. I mean, yeah, I tell this story about a dwarf, a dwarven world,
You're like, it's a
but
human experience full of dwarves.
it's an absolute human experience,
Yeah, for
no
sure.
question about it. And I get messages every day,
Yeah.
from veterans who have read it, or family members of veterans. Like I get messages like, "Oh my gosh, I know my dad better just from reading this book," or
Yeah.
I know my husband, or I know the veterans in my life better because of this. And I get people who are like, I so related to this character because I want to be like them for my people. And I get messages about that daily for Garden the Garden. And now that Wagons and Wyverns has been out just a little bit, not quite a year, but actually we just celebrated a year of Garden the Garden just the other day, which is crazy. But Wagons and Wyverns has been out for a few months now, and now that it's been out a little bit, people are starting to read it and going, "Oh my gosh, this book is about a goblin with crippling anxiety. This is me.
You're like,
This is me."
I am the goblin.
I'm like, so you get it. You
Yeah.
get it.
Well, if I needed any reason to keep going with the series, you had me at crippling anxiety. Here we go.
Exactly.
For those of you who
So,
didn't know, right before I started this interview with Zach, I had a anxiety attack, so I couldn't get my microphone and stuff to link up properly. So, goblins with anxiety for me. That's where I'm going
I'm
next.
in. Yes, exactly.
Oh my gosh, that is fantastic. One of the other things I wanted to touch on before I let you go, I just have a couple more questions. Well, actually, I have three that I would like to touch on before I let you go, if you still got time for us. One is that I did notice that lately you've been building a large social media following, but I also have heard a lot of things from writers about how that space can be really negative to mental health. So, do you have any insights or experiences? Do you feel like it's been affecting your mental health, or has it been is there any negative impacts on your creativity, or anything you might want to share about that experience for you lately?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll preface with the fact that I'm not naturally a social media person. Like I don't naturally use it.
Hmm.
I'm not a natural user of it. I'm not a target audience for some reason. My brain is like, I don't really care. Moving on. So
Yeah.
like, social media doesn't engage me necessarily the same way it does
You're
everybody
not
else.
losing hours
Or a lot
scrolling
of
like
people.
we are.
Right, exactly. I don't have, I can't keep my attention span that long, I guess.
Yeah.
And so I'm just wired a little different on that. And there are people like me that aren't wired that way as well. But I will say that absolutely social media can be a total drain
Yeah.
on you because you're trying to engage and you're trying to be a person, and you're trying to break through an algorithm
Yeah.
um, that works in certain ways. And so, unfortunately, certain things that you have to post, you're like, oh my gosh, I hate these posts. I wish they didn't work.
Yeah.
Why do I have to post this one? But they work, so I gotta do it. And then
Uh,
the other ones I don't mind so much, right? And
yeah.
so, absolutely, it drains you out completely. One of the things I did, it was December, I think. I think it was December. I hired on a friend of mine to come and help me to, with scheduling of posts, with the content creation side of it, with all the things, so that it wasn't such a drain on me. The fact of the matter is I get so many messages. My assistant goes through all my
Yeah.
social media messages just to kind of keep tabs. But it got to the point where I couldn't even look anymore. My brain it was so beyond nuts. Notification after notification after notification. She sends me nice ones now, so if you guys send me nice
You're like,
messages,
only send me the nice ones. I don't need to know if it's well, that's great that you've got like a built-in screener, right? Because I was worried about like people
yeah,
sending you, because you hear about how mean the internet is, right? So it's like you get mean. So if you got
oh
someone being
sure,
like,
yeah.
I won't send
Yeah.
you the mean messages. You won't even know that they existed. It's not there. So,
Right, and I know a lot of authors go down horrible rabbit holes with their reviews. I don't even read mine.
hmm
My assistant will send me one every once in a while, and she's like, "Oh, this one's really sweet. You should
yeah.
read it. It's so nice." I'm like, "Oh, that's so nice. Thanks." But I know for me, every time I would even open up Goodreads, I would just get this sick feeling in my stomach,
Yeah.
and I was like, "I don't like that. I don't want to live with that feeling in my body because I know that's not healthy for me. That's not going to do good things for me. I'm out."
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you guys see nice ones, go ahead and send them to me. That's very nice.
No, that's
If you
good.
see mean ones, I don't need them. Thanks.
And no, it's very healthy to have someone screening to be like, protect your
Yeah.
mental well-being. Be like, just let me know the good stuff
Yeah.
and let's keep the bad stuff away from me.
And you have
Um,
to protect yourself. And I think it was funny for me because I got started on social media before my first book even came out. And so I actually got my first 1-star review before my book it was even out, before it could even be read by anybody. And that what that taught me was instantly it taught me, oh, okay, so there's just haters for haters' sake.
yeah.
Got it. Okay, so they just hate me for some reason on social media and
Yeah.
they don't yeah,
Oh
obviously they
my
never read the book.
gosh.
It's not even out yet. And
Yeah.
so it taught me a very valuable lesson right out the gate. And I was like, all right, fair enough.
Well, good to know. Yeah. That would be very informative from a perspective informative what am I trying to say? It's very informative of one's perspective. Like, oh, just a 1-star review for a book you haven't read. Okay, like I'm really gonna value this
Cool.
rating system right now.
Right, cool. All right, moving on.
You're like, awesome. Well, I'm glad that you're taking care of your mental health. We are strong advocates of that around here. Excellent for you. I did hear you mention before that gratitude practice is one of the things that you do as well for your mental health and your well-being. And we've talked about gratitude quite a bit on this show. And it comes up in Guard in the Garden as well. I had made a note. Page
Absolutely, yeah.
218, he has a gratitude moment before he reads his letter from the captain that referred him, if you remember that part of the book. I mean, you wrote it, but if you remember then what's happening. So,
Yes.
so we would love to know if you have a particular gratitude practice that really resonates with you, or any tips or tricks that you have around gratitude, because I've shared some in the past, but we're always looking to learn more. So what have you got for us in the neighborhood of gratitude?
Yeah, one of the biggest things, gratitude was such an important piece of Felton's healing journey, but also mine and so many others, was learning to think small. Again, is a really hard. It's a really hard practice because everything's so big and our world is so big and everything. What can't I be this just like incredible author who's in all the movies, and can't I be? We have all these grand ambitions,
Sure.
and it's good. It is good to have big dreams and good to run after something and have good work ethic and these things, but it's also so vitally important for us to think small sometimes, because it's the small things that get us through, and it's the small things day by day, minute by minute, that get us that carry us onward, and it's the small moments that are often the most impactful for us long term, the ones that we look back on and go, man, I didn't know that was such a big moment
Yeah.
when it was happening, but it is. And so one of my big things, especially working on gratitude, is starting small, because sometimes it's hard to find, like, it's when you comparison is the thief of joy. And if you compare yourself to, oh my gosh, Stephen King has sold 8 billion continuing books,
Yeah.
I'm never gonna be Stephen King, right? Oh my gosh,
I've never had these thoughts
thankful
myself, by
for.
the way. This has never been
No,
anything
no,
that
no,
I've
no.
thought.
No. Yeah, you laugh because but you're going, oh, I have nothing to be grateful for
Yeah.
by comparison to that. But see, that's the problem. You're comparing, and so starting to think small, dialing it way down, stripping it way down. We can start by being grateful for what is small, and then the ball starts rolling, And then you start being more open to the thought of what you're grateful for. And then all of a sudden, each of these little things you start listing off becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. And then you just realize you have just this enormous conglomeration of amazing, wonderful things in your life to be grateful for. And so that's a big tip that I like to use is start small.
Absolutely. That's amazing. Thank you so much. And then my last question for you today is again, we've
Yeah.
touched on how much the veteran cause is very, very important to you. And so I'd love to ask if you had a magic wand, because we're writing in fantasy, so why not? If you had a magic wand that you could wave and it would fix things for the veteran community or people with PTSD, what do you feel like the biggest struggles or like the biggest pain points would be? What would we address first? Like what would be the biggest issues that need more attention, more support, more work?
Yeah, one of the biggest things is community. For veterans, we have this veteran brotherhood, like where we
Mm-hmm.
all know, like we know we're veterans, and we're like, hey man, yada yada. But we just kind of like, as veterans, we still have this mental um, block that says, no, we're tough, we're good, we can make it through this. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. We got this. I don't need help. Blah blah blah. But the problem is that by doing that, we self isolate. And
Sure.
so, if we could wave a magic wand and break that barrier down, break down that wall that says, I don't need help, I shouldn't need help, I don't know what the heck is wrong with me, I used to be so strong. If we can break that barrier, because that's one of the first barriers that we have to break before we actually start opening up and realizing that actually, no, we do need other people. Actually, that's why I was so strong while I was in the military, is because I had my brothers and sisters around me, propping me up and building me up, and I was doing the same with them. But we lose sight of that when all of a sudden we're not in the brotherhood, and it's such a stark contrast that we feel like we're lonely and we have to. There's I'm strong. I've always been strong. We got to do this, right? And so it's tough. That's a big barrier that needs to get broken down
Yeah.
earlier.
You're like earlier, like the community needs to be
Magic
there.
wand. You don't have to be super strong and perfect. You got like it's fine. Be a real human with the rest of us, and
Yeah.
let's roll with it.
Awesome. Yeah, well, I heard community and some mindset work around self isolation, not feeling like you have to do everything yourself. Realizing as I say that, I'm the
Yeah.
person who will carry in the 10 bags of groceries in two arms one time because I don't know how to ask anyone to help.
Yeah. Hey, could you do this help?
So,
Yeah, no, not even.
so,
I can't do it.
some of us are not so great. We're a little hyper independent.
Yeah.
We're not
Yeah.
so great at working with others. But
Sometimes.
nice reminder. Thank you. Sure people can relate to that. But thank you so much for your time today. I want you to spend this last second to tell people where they can find you, where they can find your books, if they want to check out your work or learn more about you. Drop that information for us now.
Absolutely, yeah. If you guys would like to know more about me or my books or my stories, if you're a fantasy fan, you definitely need to check out freefantasyfiction.com. That's free fantasy fiction, super easy. It's way easier to spell than zsdiamanti.com. You're welcome. I know, but if you go to freefantasyfiction.com, you'll find that you can sign up for my readers list where you can get 7 free stories about characters in the world of Finlestia. Some of them cross over into the Fables of Finlestia. Some of them are more specifically from the Stone and Sky series. So lots and lots of fun, but 7 free stories about characters that you're going to meet in the world of Finlestia. And freefantasyfiction.com is attached to my zsdiamanti.com website, so you'll be able to find all my social media handles there, since I know it's not easy to spell.
Well, for those of you who are wondering, it's Diamanti. I can see it on the screen. I know a lot of us are on Spotify and Apple, so you can't see it, but I'll have it in
That's
the
right.
show note, the description as well. You guys can check it out. I'll also list his information there as well for you guys. But thank you so much for joining us today, Zac. It's been a pleasure to learn more about you and your journey, and we're really grateful to have you on the show.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Of course. And that's it for today, dear humans. Thank you so much for listening. I'll be back next time with another episode of A Well Cared For Human. And until then, please take good care of you.